back here for week number 14 of the 2019 NFL season. I am done the first semester of school. My exams are over. I'm heading back home to Vancouver tomorrow. But before all of that, and before we get into the biggest month of the football season for this channel, so if you're not already subscribed to the Bottom Line View, you should definitely be subscribed to the channel because this is going to be an absolutely massive month on the channel. But before all of that, we're going to pick these games in week 14 because week 14 is a fascinating week. We're coming off of a very big week of the Texans upsetting the Patriots, of the Ravens and the 49ers going toe-to-toe in Baltimore. We had some good games. Seattle, Minnesota. There were some good games. A lot of things are starting to matter when it comes to the matchups this week with Buffalo and Baltimore. That's a big game in the AFC. Patriots, Chiefs, another big game in the AFC. We have a couple division matchups. And of course, the big game to me of the week is the 49ers and the Saints in New Orleans, which could dictate who gets the number one seed in the NFC. Before we get into these picks, make sure that you do Gronk spike the like button and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos. And as I said, guys, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, you need to subscribe right now, because this is going to be, December is going to be the biggest month on the channel, including a little bit of January. As we get into the playoffs, there's going to be more previews, more videos, more in-depth conversations on these teams. Also, comment below your opinion. I want to hear from you guys. This isn't just a show just for me to talk your head off. I want to hear from you guys in the live comment section or in the comment section below if you're watching this after the fact. Let me know who you're picking. Let me know why you're picking those teams. And let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm right, and any questions you have regarding the NFL, maybe fantasy football questions as the fantasy football playoffs are around the corner. Make sure that you leave those comments in the comment section below. All right, so week number 14, as some people are starting to get into the chat, what's going on? Let's start off on Thursday Night Football, which is tonight. Traditionally, I do this video on Wednesday, so it's a little bit different this week. This is now on Thursday instead, which is a little bit different for me. And I like to do it on Wednesdays because there's no football, so I'm not rushing to finish the video because I usually take a long time to do these videos because I like to go in depth. Well, this week, because I've been studying for exams, I don't really have a ton of information compiled in a big document for me to read off of like usual. So it's kind of off the top of my head and my knowledge. So last week, the Dallas Cowboys lost, kind of a shocker. I mean, the Bills were the better team, but everybody thought the Cowboys were going to win. I thought the Cowboys were going to win that game. I thought the Cowboys needed to win that game. Now, I picked the Bills versus the spread, which I was right, but Dallas needs to start winning these games. I don't care if the Eagles suck and their division is awful. They need to win these games. They need these games. And so do the Chicago Bears. The funny part is, you look at the Chicago Bears, the way they've played this season, and they're 6-6. They're 6-6. They're not 4-8. They're not anything worse than 500. And all I've heard from Bears fans and the NFL media is how bad their offense is, how bad Mitch Trubisky is, which could all be correct. But they're still 6-6, and they still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. Now, these last 4 games of the season, week 14, week 15, week 16, week 17, very difficult schedule upcoming. This game they need to win if they want a chance at the wild card, because they're not winning their division in Chicago. That's Minnesota or Green Bay. They need to get a wild card spot, and this would go a long way in getting that wild card spot. And for Dallas, like I said, they're just trying to hold off of Philadelphia. They're hoping maybe the Eagles lose one more before they play them, and then they can just beat them in Week 16, and it's all over. For me, I think that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this game. And the reason being is I just have more trust that the Cowboys can move the ball ultimately in this game than I do the Chicago Bears. The Bears' offense is very stagnant. It's very inconsistent. You don't know what to expect from week to week. And yes, they've been winning games, but they've been winning games versus very bad opponents, including twice versus the Lions without Matt Stafford. That's not a very good opponent. Tough test if you ask me. This is a big step in talent that they're playing in the Dallas Cowboys. I also believe, honestly, Jason Garrett is fighting for his job at this point. Offensively, I think they've come out and said some things about how they want to run the ball a little bit more and get back to what they've done well in the past, and that is run the ball with Zeke. Although Dak Prescott's number one in passing yards in the NFL, I think that they will just ultimately be able to move the ball and score more points than the Bears. As simple as it gets. When you look at the Bears, though, defensively, they're still strong. They're still one of the top 10 defenses in football, and it won't be easy for the Cowboys to do so. I actually think, they've been talk about running the ball. I think it's easier if the Cowboys go out there and pass the ball more often. I think they will be more effective in that area of the game. I could be wrong. I just think I can't count on Mitch Trubisky, and I like Dak this season. He's been playing well despite the team's record. Dallas's defense is a little overrated. I think this is a game where they look better than they really are. Maybe they force a mistake. They get after a Bears offensive line, which has been a lot worse than they were last year. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys -3 to win and to ultimately cover this game. All right. Let's get to Sunday. Before we do, a couple shout-outs for people in the chat. Michael is in the chat. He says Cowboys win 24-17. Kevin Durkant is in the chat. Bears 17-10. Dallas is bad. Turtle 24-13 Dallas. Mr. Singh has the Bears winning 14-10. Turtle is out here. Busboy says, I won't be able to watch the stream today. Sorry. Unless I get done my thing early. Well, I don't know what your thing is, but good luck in it. Sebastian says the Bears. And guys, if you haven't already, grog spike the like button. That's Thursday Night Football. That is tonight. I'm looking forward to watching that game. Let me know who you think is going to win. All right, let's go to Sunday Night Football. Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons. This game is a mess because I really don't know how Ron Rivera being fired is going to impact this game. I think that is the biggest variable in this game. And I'm almost starting to wonder on whether this is a transition into a new era for the Panthers, and if that really motivates the organization and the players to fight to win these games. Because I don't know if Cam Newton's coming back. Obviously, Ron Rivera is gone. They're trying to find a new head coach. And I don't know how psychologically that's going to impact the play of the players. Because maybe in the first quarter, maybe in preparation, they fight hard to win these games. But then when it comes to taking on that big 300-pounder, or taking that extra hit, or going out of bounds, or trying to fight for the first down, there's little things in a football game that decide the winner and the loser. And for teams that are a little bit more motivated, that's a big deal. I do think Atlanta is slightly more motivated than Carolina. And there's one reason, and that is because their coach is fighting for his job. Like I said with Jason Garrett, Dan Quinn's fighting for his job. I don't know if he actually is going to retain it and going to keep it. But I do know that he'll be fighting hard and he'll coach his team up to play hard. So I'm going to go with Atlanta. I just think that offensively, you look at Carolina's defense, they can't stop the run. Atlanta, I think if they can establish a little bit of the ground game, and they have been effective versus Carolina running the ball in the past, this year and last year, that's going to open up their passing game. I believe Julio is going to suit up for this one. Calvin Ridley has been playing very well. That's something that's gone under the radar as of late for Atlanta. And Matt Ryan's a better quarterback than Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen has been one of the worst quarterbacks over the past 3 to 4 weeks. A big reason the Panthers are losing, and honestly a big reason why Ron Rivera was fired. That's also why I question why he was fired, because Kyle Allen, to me, is not a very good quarterback. And I believe this team would be a playoff team with Cam Newton. That's just me. You can at me if you like. I'm going to go with Atlanta. They are at home. They are the more motivated team. And I believe there are some matchups in this game that dictate that Atlanta might have a few advantages, like in the ground game. And I do think if that ground game starts working a little bit, Matt Ryan can have success through the air, and that will keep the pass rush of the Panthers off of him, and he will stay off of his butt when it comes to being sacked. So I'm going to go with Atlanta. All right. Baltimore Ravens. Buffalo Bills. This game is one of the best games of the entire week. I do believe that this is going to be the game of all the games that really the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens have been playing. Or I should say specifically the Ravens have been playing. I think this is a game where people will underestimate the Buffalo Bills. I think this is a game where people are going to say, oh, this is an easy win for Baltimore, where in other games, whether it was against the Texans or the Patriots or the Niners, there was probably a crowd of people that were picking those teams to win the game. And I feel like now, because Baltimore is such a powerhouse at this point and they seem like an unstoppable force and they're an immovable object, I do not believe that anybody is going to pick the Buffalo Bills. And I don't think I am either. I'm just going to be honest. And the reason being is there's two reasons. Okay, first, Baltimore is playing too well for me to not pick them. Like, they're just playing so well at this point. They are head and shoulders to me the best team in football. Although the 49ers did play them to the end and almost won that game and maybe should have won that game, you know, they lost the game and Baltimore won the game. So ultimately, I have to give the head and shoulders of being the best team right now to Baltimore. The streak of teams that they've beaten, the way they've beaten those teams, and the way they're playing, and the dominant force of Lamar Jackson and the MVP buzz, it's all well-deserved, and Baltimore is that team right now. But the same can be said for Buffalo, who's an underrated team with a very good defense, with a great coach, and a super underrated, talented quarterback who's right behind me, his jersey. I like Buffalo a lot. I think they're a team that can win a playoff game, that can upset someone in the AFC. But I do not think this is a great matchup for them. And there's one specific reason, and that is because Buffalo's defense, although they've shown a little bit of promise in this area as of late, their weakness is to stop the run. And I do believe that if Baltimore, who's a big, powerful team based off size on defense and offense, if they can run the ball with Lamar Jackson and with Mark Ingram, they'll win this game because they can dictate the pace. They can set up their defense in good situations. I will say, one thing that the 49ers showed on tape last week was that if you can run the ball in Baltimore, you can move the ball in Baltimore. So I'm interested to see how Buffalo implements a game plan offensively to run the ball, to use their home field to their advantage, to maybe get out to a lead and force Baltimore to pass versus their very good pass defense. If Buffalo can do that, they can upset the Ravens. I just don't know if that's going to happen because I think Lamar Jackson's too dynamic, Mark Ingram's playing too well, and this offensive line is too dominant. I just don't think Buffalo will be able to slow them down to the full effect that they need to. Plus, when I look at it, Baltimore's secondary is so strong that they can play a similar style that New England did in terms of taking away their receivers and containing Josh Allen in the pocket and forcing him to make mistakes. I hope that's not the case, and honestly, I'm cheering for Buffalo here. But I'm going with Baltimore to win. And I don't know about the cover, though, because I haven't thought about this for a second. Let's leave that up for a sec. You know what? For the sake of it, I don't know if this is the right pick or not. I'm going to take Buffalo to cover because defensively, Baltimore is a little slow up front. And if Josh Allen can find ways to extend the play and maybe scramble a couple of times, then they can create some big plays. But I just don't think they can win. I just don't know. All right, next game. That's a tough one. Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cleveland is favored by a good touchdown and a bit. This is the Battle of Ohio here. This is the Battle of Paul Brown. This is the Paul Brown game. I have the Cleveland Browns winning. I have the Cleveland Browns covering. I have the Cleveland Browns dominating this game. I just look at a couple of areas here. Now, the Bengals are a better team with Andy Dalton, and I was completely wrong when I said that the Jets would beat them last week. Cincinnati got the upset. They got their first win of the year. But then again, when it comes to getting the first win of the year, the monkey is off the back. The motivation to win any more games is no longer there. And Cincinnati can take their foot off the gas pedal because they can relax. We won a game. We're not going to be 0-16. We don't have to fall into that conversation in history. So that is off their backs. For Cleveland, they've been playing well, for the most part. They lost to Pittsburgh in a game a lot of people thought that they would win. I was disappointed they lost, but Cleveland is a talented team still nonetheless. And when you look at one specific matchup, it's the offense of Cleveland versus the defense of Cincinnati. Cincinnati's run defense is one of the top 3 worst in the game, and Cleveland's is one of the best in the game. Nick Chubb leads the NFL in rushing yards. He should have a huge game here, same as Kareem Hunt. And that's just going to open up Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry to make big plays down the field and expose this secondary. So I have Cleveland winning. I have Cleveland covering in this game. Next, we have the Washington Redskins at the Green Bay Packers, minus 12.5. Green Bay, last week, decent win. I don't want to say it was anything electrifying from the Packers. It was no The Rock last week versus the Giants, but it wasn't bad, it was a good win. It wasn't special, but it was a good win, and it was a win they needed. And this is another win that they need. They need to beat the Redskins, and they need to beat the brakes off the Redskins. And I don't know if they will beat the brakes off the Redskins. I think that's an interesting question to ask. Are they going to blow the Redskins out? Because there's one specific area that I said Redskins last week, they were going to win. I said they were going to do this very well. That's run the ball. That's what they do. That's what they love to do. And Darius Geis is back, and Darius Geis is looking good, and Darius Geis adds a speed and a big play element to their run game. And he opens up a little bit of their offense, which is nice to see, and I'm glad that he's healthy and back on the field. Defensively, they're not too bad up front, but they're kind of weak in the secondary. I think if the Redskins can some way get a pass rush on Aaron Rodgers, they can keep the game close by running the ball and getting after Rodgers, but I just don't see that happening. I think the Packers will cover, and the reason is usually when the Packers play an inferior opponent at home, Rodgers has a good game. They find ways to expose that team on defense, and Aaron Rodgers can throw bombs down the field, which I think they can versus the secondary. And then on the other side, Washington isn't good versus the run themselves. Aaron Jones should have a good game, and then that will in turn set up Aaron Rodgers for those big plays down the field. On the other side, the Redskins have the worst passing game in the NFL. So the Packers, with their pass rush and a couple of their corners, they should be able to dominate that facet, maybe putting and attributing more players to the run defense. Hopefully, the Packers need to figure out a way to stop the run, because if they don't, they're going to lose really badly in one of these playoff games that they play in. I think right now I'm leaning towards the Vikings to win this division, actually. I think they're the more complete team. I like their defense more. I like their run game. I like their coaching. It's not that I don't like the Packers as a playoff team. I just feel like they're a step below some of those elite teams in the NFC. And part of it is because their defensive inconsistency. Part of it is because they haven't found a way to stop the run. And the other part is they have this flaw when they play certain teams that they've been exposed by, Chargers and 49ers. But I think the Packers win this game. They should win this game, and they should dominate this game. If they don't, I think there's concern. Next game, we have the Denver Broncos, Houston Texans. I'll get to the comments right after this game. This is interesting because I feel like the Texans, they need to be at full attention. They need to not sleep on the Broncos. That's what I want to say. Because Texans looked very good last week. For the most part of the game, they played a good team in New England, and they mostly dominated the game. and they came away with the win, and now they're feeling themselves. So hopefully this turns into Texans confidence and not Texans arrogance. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance in the NFL. And if you fall into arrogance, you can lose to teams like the Broncos. But if you fall into confidence, you can then spark yourselves to being a great team and going on a run. I still don't fully 100% see the Texans as an AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think they could go to Baltimore and win. I still don't think they could go to New England and win. But I think they're better than I gave them credit for. And in this game, Denver, they like to run the ball. They need to because they have a rookie quarterback in Drew Lock, who didn't look bad in his first game, made some plays. Courtland Sutton's a monster who's gone way under the radar this year. Phillip Lindsay's still very talented. Noah Fant's a talented young player. I think they have pieces on offense that they can work around in their building, and that's nice to see from a Denver fan perspective for you guys out there. But I just don't think they have enough here. The Texans secondary really surprised me last week in how well they played. Romeo Crennel's done a good job there. Their run defense is already good, so they'll take care of that, and Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. And then from an offensive perspective, Deshaun Watson, the thing about the Texans is sometimes they look really bad offensively, but it's those big plays they make that makes up for it. Like, Deshaun Watson will get sacked, or they won't move the ball on the ground for like 3 straight plays, and then he'll hit you with a 50-yard touchdown. And that's how they play. And that's because they have dynamic receivers, dynamic playmakers, and it makes any defense hard to handle. You know, even New England secondary in moments of that game were challenged by Hopkins and by Fuller and by Stills, because that trio is maybe the best trio in football to cover. It's hard. So Denver has a good secondary. But if you put Harris on Hopkins, who covers the other guys, and can they consistently do that for a portion of the game? I think they can have success for a little bit of the game, but not for the entirety. So I have the Texans winning. I will say they cover because they're at home. If this game was in Denver, I think this falls into trap game territory, but I'm not quite going to go that far. So I feel like Houston wins and Houston covers, although that 9 number is interesting. If that was a 10... I'd consider taking Denver, but because it's only at 9, I'm going to take Houston to win and to cover. Next will be the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. But before that, guys, let's get to the comment section. We have 10 likes right now, guys. If you haven't already, make sure that you do. Gronk spike the like button, guys. Gronk spike it, baby. Let's go. All right. Let's check out the chat. What's going on in the chat? All right. Sarah's in the chat. She says, love the Allen jersey. Thank you, Sarah. Michael's in the chat. Charles is in the chat. He says, I just hope Dak and Amari go off this game. I don't want to say get off because that can imply something else. Robot says, yo, I'm not super late. Maybe it's because it's on a Thursday, bro. Dre says... I know what his thing is. Okay. Patrick says Cowboys 17-14. Turtle has Atlanta winning 26-17. Kevin has Atlanta winning as well. Sarah has the Bills pulling off the upset. I hope so, but I don't think so. Do I remember the Ravens-Bills game last year because it was not good? No, I actually don't. I feel like I remember them playing, but I don't remember the game. I don't know if Houston would kill Buffalo. Maybe they win. I don't know if they kill them. Mr. Singh as Baker with a big game in Week 14. Doug says the Bills and Ravens are very similar teams. However, a mini bye for the Bills and home field with that crowd in the biggest game in a long, long time for the fans. Bills by 10. So he's relying on the big home field advantage of the Buffalo Bills. and the Bills Mafia. Okay. What else? Robot Guy says Bungles suck. Packers easy, says Charles. Turtle has the Browns 19-7. Sammy has Packers. Turtle has Packers. Robot says, if the Packers don't win, I'd laugh my ass off. Sing says Packers win 35-13. I haven't given any scores this week. I'm going to have to start doing that. Sammy says 24-16. Sarah has Broncos with the win. Robot Guy has Texans by 14. Kevin says, Mitch, should I start Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, or Andy Dalton? I need to know. I guess you do need to know because Dak Prescott plays tonight. Why can't I remember who these guys play? Other than Dak, I can't seem to remember. Derek Carr plays, I'm looking right now. I need to look at the matchup. Titans. I don't really love that. Andy Dalton. I guess Dak, man. I don't really love any of them, if I'm being honest. But I think Dak's the most consistent of all of them, and I do believe Dak and the Cowboys will win. I would check the weather, though, because I don't know what the weather is like, so check that before you start him, because he didn't seem to be too good versus the Patriots in the rain, so make sure you check that out first. If not, maybe Derek. I don't think I can trust Andy Dalton, though. Okay, what else we have here? Minshew is better than Foles, says Kevin Durkant. Sammy has the Vikings big. Blue has Lions upset, just kidding. And Bennett has the Dallas Cowboys tonight. Chris is asking, who should I play, Cook or Ingram at tight end? Evan Ingram? He's been so hurt constantly. I guess the biggest concern for him is just leaving the game in the middle of the game. But yeah, I would play Evan Ingram in the game. He is playing, right? Did he play last week? I don't even know. Let me see. Evan Ingram puts in limited practice 6 hours ago. Limited in Thursday's practice. He has missed the last 3 games. Okay, yeah, I would play Ingram if he plays. Obviously, if not, play Cook. But that's my call. All right. Minnesota at home versus Detroit. This is a Minnesota game, man. And as I've said in some of my videos, I do believe that Minnesota is a team that I'm rising on. I like them as a pretty well-balanced team. I've been impressed with Kirk Cousins in some of these big moments. Had another gutsy performance last week without Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen in Seattle. Played well. They didn't win, but he played well, and I thought they showed resiliency at the end of that. Detroit is just bad without Matt Stafford. They don't have anything to offer. They have some good receivers. That's about it. Ground game isn't super effective. Offensive line's okay, and it's making their quarterback serviceable because they can protect. But defensively, they can't seem to stop anything. And I think whether they have Adam Thielen or not, Cook or not, it doesn't matter to me. I think they'll have Cook. So that just gives me a little bit more insurance in this game. I think that Minnesota at home, you can't pick against them. And I also believe that you pick them to cover the spread more often than not at home because they seem to blow out teams when they're at home versus teams that they're superior to. They beat Detroit in Detroit last time versus Matt Stafford, and I think it was close to this number. It was close to 13. They scored a ton of points. It was no mercy on that side of the ball. I think it's very similar because if they can run the ball, it just becomes... It opens everything up. It's like Green Bay. It's like the 49ers with Minnesota where they want to run the ball just so they can open up the passing game. And then when Dalvin Cook's hitting those big plays, it opens up Stephon Diggs and Kyle Rudolph, who's playing very well. And when Adam Thielen comes back, I truly believe he's an X factor in these playoffs. If that hamstring is good to go, That offense is going to be so hard to stop in the playoffs. That would be a challenge for any team playing the Vikings in the playoffs. So I have the Vikings winning, and I have the Vikings covering versus just no Matt Stafford. Next, the game of the week, in my opinion, although the personal game of the week for me is obviously the Patriots and the Chiefs. Mahomes, Brady, number 3. But 49ers, Saints is probably the NFL game of the week. The Saints are -2.5 in this game. I want to check one thing, because like I said at the beginning of this video, guys, I'm doing this off the top of the noggin. I'm doing this off the hip, So I do not know the injury situation. So I need to check that out for the 49ers, because that's a big deal for the 49ers. Because if they don't have a lot of players, then I might lean the Saints. So let's look at this. Andrus Peat did not practice. Kiko Alonso did not practice. A.J. Klein did not practice. Zach Line, Teron Armstead, limited practice. That's interesting. Hopefully he plays. Then you look at the 49ers. Limited practice for Dante Pettis. Doesn't really matter to me. Jaquiski Tart did not practice. Okay, that's something right there. He didn't practice 2 days in a row. Julian Taylor did not practice. That's depth on the D-line. D. Ford, full practice. That's good. Kittle, limited practice. He'll play. Richard Sherman will play. Staley will play. Breida, full practice. Deebo Samuel, full practice. Samuels, full practice. Eric Armstead did not practice. I'm looking up Eric Armstead now. Eric Armstead. This is what I do in preparation for games, just so you guys know. Eric Armstead gets day off. Let me see this. Okay. Not injury related is the designation. So we're good on that. Now looking at the injury report, it reassures me that I will go with the 49ers. Now, Saints fans are going to lose their minds, like the Joker said in The Dark Knight. Reason is, I just think the 49ers are three things, okay? 1, they're more talented. 2, the coaching is level playing field. And 3, I think they're more explosive on both sides of the football. And what does that mean? Well, first off, we know how explosive they can be defensively. They have the best pass rush in football. They have a secondary that's playmakers, and they make plays, and they create turnovers, and they force mistakes. And then on the offensive side of the ball, their running game creates big plays, and then when they create those big plays, they really, they're the best team in the NFL at turning that run game into a successful play action. And that's the greatness of Kyle Shanahan's scheme in a nutshell. I think that the 49ers are just the more talented team. And there's one thing that I think that the 49ers will be able to take advantage of with the Saints. I actually think the 49ers defense matches up very well with the Saints offense. And it's because the Saints don't have an explosive passing game down the field. So that being said, the 49ers are now allowed to put guys in the box, which they already do traditionally because they do tend to play a lot of cover 3. They play a lot of zone. So their safeties typically are in the box regardless. If they're playing cover 2, obviously it's a little bit different, but they can try and confuse and throw a little bit of wrinkles into it because they're not really concerned with Drew Brees beating them over the top, and they're not concerned with speed down the field. Also, Richard Sherman is a pretty good matchup for Michael Thomas. I mean, Michael Thomas is going to get his regardless, and Michael Thomas is so amazing, not just because he's very talented, but also because Sean Payton puts him in excellent positions to be successful. And if Richard Sherman is following him or on him, and even if it's not Richard Sherman, the other guys in the 49ers secondary are very big, and they're very physical, and they're long. And Michael Thomas really bullies opposing corners. So I think like a guy like Richard Sherman would not get bullied and not get beaten by Michael Thomas on a consistent basis. The other thing is, with Andrus Peat injured, we've seen that they can be taken advantage of with the pass rush. And I think Drew Brees will be under some pressure. And the thing with the 49ers defense is you look at what Dallas has done to the Saints in the past. They're fast defense. They play a lot of the same concepts. I think the 49ers can take what Atlanta has done to the Saints. They can take what Dallas has done to the Saints, and they can implement that to their defense because they're a fast defense, they're an aggressive defense, they're a hard-hitting defense, and I think they have the secondary guys to match up. On the other side, I think the Saints defense will hold up fairly well, and Marshawn Lattimore is back fully participating, so that's big to take away Emmanuel Sanders. But who's going to cover Kittle? That's going to be interesting, and if the 49ers can hold up in terms of an offensive line and pass protection, I think they can scheme their way down the field a little bit better than the Saints because I just think the Niners defense is more talented than the Saints defense. But it will be difficult for the 49ers to run versus the Saints. If you want to run versus the Saints, you need to run to the outside. And I think that's the way Kyle Shanahan will attack with a lot of his speed sweeps and his stretches. But I think that the 49ers are just a better team. I think they both need this desperately, obviously. And I think it's a lot like the Rams and the Saints of last year. I just think the Rams are a little bit better. And that's, I know that the Saints won on a weird penalty, but the Rams were the better team in that NFC Championship. And it's not the playoffs yet, so, maybe the Saints win it here. And I think the one thing that I can't really quantify in a prediction is the impact of the Superdome and how loud it is and how the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo will be affected by that. So if the Saints won, obviously I wouldn't be surprised. It's a challenging game to pick here. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with the Niners, though, for all the reasons I stated. I will take them to cover because I don't think 2.5 is a number that I like much to bet with. If this was 3, I might take the Saints. It's New Orleans minus 2.5. What am I thinking? Regardless, 49ers all the way. And yeah, I like the 49ers with the upset because the Saints are the favorite. For some reason, I thought the 49ers were. And the 49ers, I didn't even mention this, they looked really good playing in Baltimore. And I've talked about how that environment is very difficult to play in. So if they can play there, they should be able to play in a perfect dome, even though it's louder. All right. Next, Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. Jets are minus 5.5 in this game. I think the Dolphins upset them the first time around, and that was the game where I was super angry because Sam Darnold sucked. This time, I think the Jets win. I'm going to take the Dolphins to cover, though, because I can't trust the Jets to do anything. But I think that the Jets win just because I don't think that the Dolphins sweep them. That's it. That's all I'm going to go with because I can't honestly give you any analysis when it comes to Jets because they suck. They lost to the Bengals. 5.5 to me is a joke. Honestly, why are the Jets 5.5? Can somebody give me a reason? The Dolphins just beat the Eagles. Jets just lost the Bengals. Jets are minus 5.5. I know the Dolphins at the beginning of the year sucked, but hey, the only reason I'm picking the Jets is because I don't think the Dolphins will sweep them. That's it. And maybe the Dolphins are a little bit high on their high horse because they beat the Eagles. Again, Dolphins coaching staff far superior to the Jets. Talent goes the Jets' direction. I think Jamison Crowder should have a big day like he did the first time. And, Le'Veon Bell should have a decent game. But I'm not expecting, them to blow them out. I think if you thought the Jets would blow out the Dolphins, I think you're kind of dumb. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm going to go with the Jets. But literally only reason. I know how the AFC East works. And outside of New England, typically these teams all split. The Bills are a little bit better this year, but I just going to go with the Jets. Who cares? All right, next. We have the Indianapolis Colts at the Tampa Bay Bucs. This game's interesting, actually. The Colts are kind of out of it, honestly, but the Bucs are an interesting team. Like I say every week, the Bucs are really fun to watch, and that's why I like watching the Bucs play good teams, because the Bucs always make it entertaining, no matter who they're playing, because Jameis Winston is an absolute firework, I will say, and he could go either way. He could destroy and blast in your face, or he could make a beautiful image in the sky. He's a firework. Katy Perry. Jameis Winston, I think, should have a pretty good game here. Mike Evans, Godwin, that's the best duo for my money in the league right now, and the way they're producing is special. That offense should be able to move the ball through the air. Ground game has been on and off. It's been effective because they're able to pass the ball, and teams are worried about passing the ball, so they go light fronts, and then they let them run it. That's really where they're effective running the ball. Defense sucks, though. But I will say, I don't know if Brissett has the weapons to take advantage of the Bucs secondary, the worst secondary in the entire damn NFL. I don't think they do. They don't have T.Y. Hilton. I think Paris Campbell's back at practice, but I can't trust him. He's a rookie, and he's barely played. So, and they don't have Eric Ebron. They have no weapons. They don't have no Marlon Mack either. I'm sorry, party. I'm going with the Bucs. I think the Bucs, more exciting team. They're at home. This game to me doesn't really matter. Just hurry up and cut Adam Vinatieri so the Patriots can sign him. All right, done. Next, LA Chargers at the Jacksonville Jags. I am going with the LA Chargers, and there's one reason and one reason only. I don't care if the Chargers are traveling from west to east. I don't care if the Jags are actually the Chargers are favored by 3. I don't care that Minshew is back and Minshew Mania is running wild, brother. I like the Chargers because the Jags have been blown out for like 4 weeks in a row, and for some reason nobody seems to care, and it's not indicating in any line in any game. Now the Chargers finally are favored over them, but it seems like for weeks on end Vegas has been burnt to shreds by the Jacksonville Jags, and experts at betting have always picked the Jags, and they're always wrong this year. I just don't know what it is, but they continue to get blown out by teams that really aren't great. Average teams are blowing them out. So for the Chargers, yes, they're annoyed with Phillip Rivers. Yes, Phillip Rivers has declined massively. Yes, Phillip Rivers will likely throw 3 interceptions, but he'll also probably throw 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this game. I think they can find a way to move the ball seriously. Running the ball, because the Jags have been one of the bottom 3 run defenses over the past 4 to 5 weeks in that losing streak. Also, they tend to give up receptions to the running back position because they're a heavy zone defense, and without Jalen Ramsey, that pass defense has also suffered in giving up big plays. That's been a big loss for them. Who knew that one of the top 5 corners in the game would be a big loss? And then on the other side of the ball, yeah, I think Minshew has a better connection with these receivers, and I think they will move the ball better. But Joey Bosa, Ingram, that's a fearsome duo right there. Derwin James, that's tough. So I'm going to go Chargers to win this game, and I'll take them to cover as well. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals. Pittsburgh at Arizona. This game's uncomfortable. I don't really ever trust Pittsburgh. They are favored, though, and I will say Pittsburgh, for a lot of these games, has been the less talented team, especially in terms of offense. But in this game, they are definitely the more talented team. So I almost wonder, does this impact their underdog mindset in some sort of way? Or does this, help them? I don't know. But I do think that a couple of matchups that are intriguing to watch is that offensive line versus Chandler Jones, and how they protect Mr. Duck Hodges, who I've been saying for weeks was better than Mason Rudolph, but for weeks they wanted to start Rudolph, and because of it, they are weeks behind in making the playoffs, which they're in position to make the playoffs right now, but they should have already basically have secured this spot, honestly. If they had Hodges, they probably already would have. But I think he's okay. I think he's talented. I think he could throw the ball deep. I think he has more arm strength than Rudolph. And Rudolph's a little brat. I don't like him. I don't like him. I'd rather get the guy that calls ducks. So I'm gonna go with Hodges and the Steelers because of their defense. Fitzpatrick. I was gonna say Kirkpatrick for some reason. But Fitzpatrick, he's a Pro Bowler this year. T.J. Watt, AFC Defensive Player of the Month. He is really good, and nobody talks about him, really. I don't know why. Their defense up front is really dominant. And their corners are not bad, but the Cardinals don't have the receivers to take advantage. Kyler Murray is special, and I said in one of these videos recently that I believe he'll be the Lamar Jackson of next year, like in terms of the star young quarterback that takes the NFL and Twitter by storm. That will be Kyler Murray next year, but it's not this year. It's a year before it's going to happen. And this is the second best defense they've played, but it's a different defense because the 49ers, they more rely on their talent, and I think the Cardinals match up better with the 49ers defense. Steelers, they're more based off confusion. They're more based off blitzes and sending people and dropping people back, and they're the 3-4 Blitzburg scheme that I think could confuse Kyler on a couple of snaps and could force some mistakes. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh to win and to cover. All right. Follow me on Twitter, guys. Just going to throw a cheap plug in here already. I know there's 36 of you in here. Guys, if you have Twitter or social media in general, it just says Twitter here, but Instagram as well, you can follow me there as well, at Mitch Milani, where I give you my thoughts on Twitter, obviously, on a lot of Patriots stuff. So if you're a Patriots fan, definitely head over there, but especially NFL. Talk about a lot about the NFL. Whatever I talk about on here on the channel, I likely talk about it on Twitter before, so you can get my instant reaction there. I also am heavily discussing television shows I like, movies I like, because I'm a very artsy person and I love art. Music as well sometimes, not as often, because I feel like that sparks some heated debates that I don't really like to get into. Superhero stuff like Marvel or DC, all over that. So if you want to follow me there, hockey as well, just anything that really pops up, wrestling. If you guys are wrestling fans, I used to be a huge wrestling fan, so I always talk about that as well. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me there. All right, let's get to the next game, which is the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots. Before we do, though, I'm going to check out the comments because this is a big game, so I'm going to hold you guys here with the teaser. All right. Where did I leave off? Okay. Charles says, Vikings are tough. They can beat anybody in the NFC. Vikings this week by 20. Trivia says, just like I had before the season, Minnesota beats Detroit on the road and vice versa. He says, no, Matt Stafford, never mind then. Major Bryant says, Blow will upset the Vikings with a late second touchdown. I highly doubt that. Kevin Durkant says 49ers cause, what? 49ers and Turtle. I don't know what you're trying to say. 49ers, Turtle, over Turtle, 30-27. Blue Torpedo says Saints win 2017. Bennett has the Niners. Charles has the Saints 24-17. Trivia has the 49ers. Mr. Singh has the 49ers and Saints being a tie. Blue Torpedo has Saints or favored by 2.5. Turtle has the Saints 34-27. He says, be ready for the Niner fan excuses when they lose. Charles says Saints have 2 good quarterbacks, 2 good running backs, 2 good receivers. Who's the other good receiver? And a good offensive line and a top 5 defense. I don't know if I disagree with any of those other than the receiver argument. Top 5 defense is interesting. I think top 10 definitely. I'm not sure about top 5. They haven't really played any great offenses this year. That's something to note. I don't think they have, at least. Maybe one. What else? Turtle says you can't run on the Saints. Ultra is late, but he has the 49ers winning 27-24. James says hopefully the 49ers D will hold Breeze without a single touchdown pass because he loves the Brady touchdown record. Ultra says I just think that the 49ers are better. Saints are a great team. 49ers are better. Fins up 25-10. Says Turtle. Ultra has a 3-3 tie. Sammy has the Jets 2017. Blake has the Jets 31-3. Ultra has the Bucs winning. James has the Colts. Patrick has the Saints 31-24. Ultra has the Chargers 31-23. Turtle has Minshew back 24-16. Lane says, whoa, just realized you're wearing a San Francisco Giants hoodie. Hell yeah, go Niners though. Yeah, I bought this when I went to San Fran and I went to the game. Chargers 28-24. Cardinals 2010, says Turtle. Cardinals 16-12, says Sammy. So some Cardinals upsets. I don't know why it's so small. Maybe I should get a different picture. Singh has Pats winning. I'll get to that in a bit. All right. Let's do this. New England Patriots. Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes Brady 3. The rematch of the AFC Championship game. Bill Belichick. Andy Reid. Bill Belichick. Patrick Mahomes. Stephon Gilmore in the best secondary in man-to-man versus the Kansas City Chiefs receivers. Tom Brady versus this defense that might be better. And Tom Brady in an offense that's really desperately trying to find their identity. We saw it last week. It was for everyone to see. The Patriots suck. We're in that mode. They can't do anything right. You know, they're 10-2, but they're the worst 10-2 team of all time, according to the media. Tom Brady's fallen off the cliff. Their defense isn't as good as we thought. They haven't played anyone, guys. What else? Bill Belichick can't coach anymore. You know, everyone's panicking. I literally saw a headline, and I actually retweeted this, or quote tweeted it. I said, "Look at this headline." The headline read, "Is it time to panic in New England? The Patriots are 10-2." Serious headline by serious journalism. That was the headline. All right? No time to panic. Again, they're 10-2. Sure, is it not pretty? Sure. Do you think, or do I think it should be better offensively? And do I think it can be better? Yes. And do I think that they should have played better versus the Texans? Yes. Did you think the Patriots were going to go 15-1? I will ask you that question. Did you think the Patriots would go 16-0? I will ask you that question. And I don't want to dive too deep into this because I do want to make a video on it. And I've made a lot of, specifically about the Patriots offense and Tom Brady. So I want to get into that in a separate video. But Patriots are not done. Patriots are not finished. They're 10-2. They're tied for the number 1 seed, or they're technically number 2 seed, but they're tied with the best record in football. Any other team in football, they're talking about how great this team is. They've lost to 2 teams that are 2 of the best teams in the NFL. They lost to the Ravens, and they lost to the Texans on the road. Last year, they won the Super Bowl. They lost to the Titans, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Lions. I'm missing another team. On the road, and they were all non-playoff teams. All right? Relax. Okay, is it a little different? Does the defense need to stand up? Did the flu affect their game last week? Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Jason McCourty has been out for that defense, which I think hopefully he plays this week, which would be a big help if he does. Maybe they've been saving him to play Kansas City. Who knows? Because he's probably just minorly banged up as he's been limited for the past 2 weeks. I have the Patriots winning this game. And there's one reason. Well, there's more than one reason. But the big reason is because they're not going to lose. That's why. All right? That's why. They're not going to lose. All right? And the reason is the Patriots, they lost 2 in a row last year. But they don't lose 2 in a row often. They don't lose 2 in a row to 2 good teams. 2 games that they are looked at as prime time-esque games. When's the last time the Patriots lost to 2 teams that were high-profile teams. 2 teams that they heavily needed to prepare for. 2 teams that they looked at as opponents to the Super Bowl. Contenders, right? They don't lose 2 of those games in a row. They usually rise to the occasion. And this might be a game, I'm hoping, okay, as a fan of the Patriots, I'm hoping this is the game where the Patriots rise to the occasion. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, so I don't want you to say, oh, it didn't happen if it doesn't happen. I'm saying I'm hoping this is the game that the Patriots come out and they have a very Patriot-esque win versus a good opponent at home. Because they need that win. They need that type of win at home where the fans lose their minds, Tom Brady looks like vintage Tom Brady, the defense plays well, and they beat Patrick Mahomes. They need it, okay? I will say this, though. The Chiefs, they pose issues, right? They're a good team. And their defense has played a lot better this year than it has last year. Their pass rush is still good, although I will say it's not as good as it was last year. Chris Jones is still dominant, but I think, and Frank Clark's coming around, but I just don't feel like this pass rush is as dynamic as it was last year, and it's not forcing as many turnovers. But their run defense has been on and off. I think it's a little bit better recently, but they're causing more turnovers. They're causing more big plays than they did last year. Tyrann Mathieu helped, and I think their pass defense has been drastically better this year with Tyrann Mathieu and Morris Claiborne and Kendall Fuller. Those guys have been good, so that's nice to see for them and for Chiefs fans. And I think it will be challenging for the Patriots to pass in 3rd down and long, and then they need to stay out of 3rd down and long. I think the silver lining for the Patriots is their run game has actually looked better the last few weeks with Isaiah Wynn back and Sony Michel. And that game got a little bit out of hand last week. But James White was able to run the ball as well last week. I think they can run the ball in this game with some success. And I just have this feeling that this is going to be a game where the Patriots offense, they get back on their P's and Q's. Because when I go back and I look at that Texans game, I want to say a lot of it was because the receivers weren't open, and that's what I saw when I was doing the reaction to the game live. But at the same time, I think a lot of it was mental mistakes. A lot of it was just not being in the right place at the right time, not having good communication, not executing. And I don't think the Patriots go 2 games in a row where they don't execute the way they should. And from all the people, in the locker room like Philip Dorsett saying that they've been a lot better at practice and stuff like that, I'm gonna believe in it because I'm a fan. But again, from the Chiefs' perspective, there's one thing that I think kills them versus the Patriots. They don't have a good run attack. And when you don't at least have a competent rushing game, it just allows Belichick to put all his things in the basket of, we're going to stop Mahomes, we're going to stop the passing attack. And with the best secondary in the league, they're certainly capable of doing that. I also look at the Chiefs' offense as of late, and they haven't been amazing. I mean, they've been okay, and they're still making big plays, but it just doesn't seem like they're the same way they were last year, and I didn't expect that to be so. But I think we've seen the Patriots with, I would say, worse pass defenses last year play the Chiefs about as good as you could play them when they were at historic levels. Now they're at just very good levels, and this defense is rose, and this defense will be at home instead of on the road in the AFC Championship game. And I think that they are equipped to contain Mahomes. Now, will Mahomes probably score 20 at least? Yeah, probably. But I don't know. Without a ground game, at least Houston had a ground game. At least Houston had a quarterback that was dynamic enough to beat you outside the pocket where he could run. Mahomes is more of a scrambler and stuff, and they've kind of figured out ways to contain Mahomes in the past. And I want to see how Andy Reid shifts his game plan to try and attack this Patriots defense, and if he does anything differently. Because all I've been hearing about the Chiefs defense is they have consistently had one issue, and that is to beat man coverage consistently. And that's because the way their offense is run, they don't necessarily, as stealing something from Chris Sims, he says they run a lot of concepts where they run to space. They don't necessarily run routes or try and beat you with crisp route running and timing. So like some offenses, they beat you by running to space and using their athletic ability. And versus man coverage, that isn't ideal. So even teams with lesser man coverage abilities have had some success containing them. So I will say that the Patriots should win this game, and I think they will win this game. I would not be shocked if the Chiefs won this game because Patrick Mahomes is a baller, Tyreek Hill is a baller, Travis Kelce's a baller, and Andy Reid's a good coach, and their defense has been better, and the Patriots' offense has been worse. So if they win this game, I won't be shocked. But a 4 o'clock game in New England, off of a loss, versus a good team, versus a good offense, Tom Brady rising to the occasion, this offense back on their P's and Q's. Again, I just think this is a game the Patriots win. So I'm going to go with New England in this game. There's your breakdown. All right. Next. What's next? What do we have next? The Tennessee Titans at the Oakland Raiders. Wow, that's a drastic drop-off. This game isn't terrible, but I feel like the Raiders have kind of taken... The Raiders have kind of taken themselves out of the playoff conversation, while the Titans have placed themselves in the playoff conversation. So, that being said, I'm going to go with the Titans. I think the Titans are just playing better football. Maybe some of it is that people have figured out the Oakland offense. They've figured out John Gruden. They've figured out his schemes, what he wants to do, what he likes to do, how this team operates. Tannehill's playing well, and now he plays a really good matchup versus the Oakland Raiders secondary that's pretty weak. They don't have much of a pass rush, so this offensive line that hasn't been great should be able to protect. And they're not bad versus the run, but Derrick Henry is beasting versus everybody, so I don't expect them to really contain him. On the other side, the Titans' defense is just better than the Raiders' defense, and I think that what the Titans do the best is stop the run. And they're big up front. I think they can take one-on-one the Raiders' offensive line, which the way they've won is they've been able to bully up front, and Derek Carr's capitalize off that. They don't really have the receivers in Oakland to take advantage of the secondary, and Derek Carr's not a great deep ball passer. So I'm going to go with the Titans to win. I'll also take the Titans to cover, but one thing that does scare me in this game is external. I think this is one of the last games, or the last game, I'm not quite sure, where they play in the Oakland Coliseum. That scares me. And if that's the case, that's definitely interesting. But I just think the Titans are playing better football. The Titans, I think they have a coach that's comparable in the way Vrabel's doing a good job. Tannehill's given this team a spark. And again, I just think this team is playing good complementary football. Maybe the Raiders don't get blown out like they have the past couple of weeks, but I think that they do lose. All right, 2 games left, and then I'll get to the comments section. Seattle Seahawks at the LA Rams. Seahawks are only favored by 1 point in LA. Now, the Rams should have beat them the first time they played, and I believe that was without Jalen Ramsey. You would expect the Seahawks to lose a game, like, down the stretch. Like, nobody thought that they would go 14-2. So, I feel like they kind of have to lose a game, but I don't know if I'm willing to say that they're going to lose this game. Maybe they do. The Rams, they've played well versus Seattle. They seem to have like some sort of offensive schematical advantage. McVay's kind of figured out Carroll's defense pretty well. And with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey there now, maybe it's a little difficult for Russell Wilson to make plays and magic happen. And they're coming off a short week. It's tough because I feel like there's some things telling me to pick the Rams. And I do feel like some people in Vegas might actually put money line on Rams, which I think if you're putting I don't think it's a terrible bet. But this is difficult because I think that I don't want to pick against the Seahawks, honestly. And I don't think the Rams are that great, but this is a divisional game. Can the Seahawks defensive line get after Jared Goff? I think that is the question. I think that's the determining factor. I am going to say the Seahawks, but I don't love it. And I certainly would stay away from this game if I'm leaning Seahawks. I'd much rather put some underdog money on the Rams at home in this game. In a game where, they're coming off some winning some big games, some physical gains, short week. So maybe I'm talking myself into the Rams, but I just can't get myself to pick against Russell Wilson. So I'm going to pick Seattle. It's something telling me I don't love that game. So last game is Monday Night Football. It's the Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are -9 in this game, and I'm going to be straight out front. I don't care if Eli Manning's playing. I don't care if Daniel Jones is playing. I don't care if Archie Manning or Peyton Manning at this point is playing, or Peyton Manning's son. I don't care. I'm taking the Giants +9 because the Eagles are not good. They're not good right now. And I don't think they should be justifiably favored by 9 points over anybody in the NFL. Sure, maybe their offense got it going a little bit last week versus the Dolphins, but I just can't see them covering 9 points. The Giants are a rival. The Giants, I think they can slow down the Eagles in terms of their Eagles running game. They're big in the middle of their defense, so it won't be easy to do so. And honestly, the Eagles are not explosive offensively. They don't have any receivers that scare the Giants, and despite having a horrible secondary, it doesn't matter when you don't have speed, you don't have playmakers, athleticism at that position, specifically in this offense in the Eagles where they want to pass the ball down the field. Outside of Zach Ertz 5-yard catches over the middle, they don't have anything super consistent. Miles Sanders has looked good at times, but I can't say they're going to blow them out. Now, I'm still going to go with the Eagles to win because they're at home. They need to win this game. They have much more motivation, and they're playing damn Eli Manning. But I think there's also a little bit of motivation for Eli, and I think there's motivation for the Giants to get a win for Eli. So I'm going to go with the Eagles in a close game to win. But I just don't think that 9. I think 9's too many points. It doesn't really make sense to me. So those are my picks for week number 14. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, again, make sure that you do Gronk spike the like button and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this. Let's get to the comment section. And if you guys haven't already, make sure that you do comment. If you want your questions answered or if you want your comments heard. Okay. All right. Where does this beginning of the Patriots game start? Okay. Singh says Pats win 27-13 because the Pats are great at home. Good point. I don't think they've lost the last 2 seasons at home because they lost all their games on the road last year, and they've lost both their games on the road this year. Blake has the Chiefs blowing them out 31-14. Ultra has Chiefs winning because the Pats offense sucks. Kevin Durkant has an arrow up. Trivia says, by the way, Mack and Campbell will be back. All right. I don't think it matters. Sammy has the Pats 34-28. Okay. If I had to give a score for that game, I would say 23 23-20 Patriots. That's my score. Kevin Durkant says Patriots offense is terrible. They need AB. AB posted a photo today, by the way, and said, miss you, big bro, with Tom Brady in the picture. Donald says, what's up, Mitch? Donald from Cincinnati. What's going on, Donald from Cincinnati? My exams went pretty good. I definitely passed. It's just a matter of how well I did, I think. Major has the Pats winning 40-9. Robot Guy says, is Jason McCourty back? I hope so. I think they missed him big time last game. And honestly, I think they made some coaching errors on defense last game. I would not have doubled Hopkins in that game because when they did, they allowed touchdowns to other people. And the 2 biggest plays of the Texans game offensively came because they doubled Hopkins with Gilmore. If you want to double the number 1, put Gilmore on another player. And I think that's something I didn't talk about. I think that Gilmore could cover Kelsey in this game and also Watkins. Watkins is not playing very well, so I would rather him cover Kelsey and have J.C. Jackson cover Watkins. It's my personal opinion. And have the same thing that you did last year. Jonathan Jones and Devin McCourty, or the McCourties, or they had Keon Crossan, but Jonathan Jones or Jason McCourty and Devin McCourty on Tyreek Hill J.C. Jackson on Jason McCourty, Stephon Gilmore on Mr. Travis Kelce. That would probably be the way that I would do it. That's just my opinion. If you're going to double. If you're going to single, it's kind of hard. You don't really want to single Tyreek Hill. I think there's going to be a lot of two safeties, or if you're not two safeties, you're double teaming. And I don't expect to see a lot of zone, because that's especially when the Chiefs have had a lot of success versus the Patriots, is when they play zone. So I would expect to see a lot of man. And the zone for when they played the Texans didn't work as well as they would have hoped. Patrick has Patriots 21-13. Kevin Urquhart says Mitch is biased. Patrick says Mitch. They're saying that Tom Brady is washed. Yes, I understand that. I'm going to make a video on it. Ultra says Pat's offense sucks. They have a regressing quarterback, an average running game, no receivers outside of number 11. Their defense struggles against speed. Kansas City has speed. Kansas City wins 28-20. Charles says, Ultra, are you willing to bet on that? I'm just curious. Charles says Pat should win, but it's not going to be easy. I agree with that totally, 100%. Blake says, I'm going to laugh when the Pats get their third loss. Wow. I'm going to laugh too if my team is to the point where other fans are laughing at the fact that they have 3 losses. That's incredible. All right, continuing. Charles says, I don't care what happens, just hope the Texans don't get a bye. Blake says, if the Pats lost to the Texans, they can definitely lose to the Chiefs. Texans beat the Chiefs, first off. Second, I think part of the reason why I'm picking the Patriots over the Chiefs is because they lost the Texans. I said they would lose 2 games in the stretch versus the Ravens. Where did it start? The Ravens game, the Cowboys game, the Eagles game, the Texans game, and the Chiefs game. I thought they would lose 2 games. So far, they've lost 2 games. So I'm expecting them to beat the Chiefs and then sweep the rest of the season. That's my expectation. If they lose the Chiefs, I wouldn't be shocked. But that's my expectation. Because before the season, I said they go, I think I said 14-2. I might have said 13-3. But I said they would lose 2 games in this stretch. And so far, they've lost 2 games in this stretch. And everybody's freaking out. All right. Just because it's a little bit different than the past. It's more based off that their offense isn't playing well and not their defense. Kevin says, you talk too much because you think you are an expert. Guess what? You're not! Thanks for watching, Kevin. Ultra says, Mitch, all you can go to is the past. They need a block punt touchdown to beat the Bills. They need a bad offense in the last 2 months. Yeah, they haven't been a good offense. I'm not going to, but they're 10-2. They've won those games because they have a good defense, because they have a good special teams, because they have great coaching. And I think I'm going to continue to say it because I think it's going to happen and I believe it's going to happen. Once they execute, once they get on the same page, once they find an identity, just like last year, this offense will get better. Will it be the best in the NFL? No. Will it be top 5? No. But I believe it will be good enough to contend. I'm not even saying win the Super Bowl. Contend. I think they would take Tyrell Williams for a third, to be honest. And I don't think the Raiders could trade him at this point because his contract's too big. Drew says, New England money line. Ultra says, Brady isn't as good anymore. He's regressing and struggling. What? But he also, okay, I think you spelled also wrong. Also has no receivers. I'm just not, okay. Ultra, I understand where you're coming from, and I don't disagree, but I'm not going to read any of your other comments because I know they're all the same. So I'm going to get to everybody else's. Jeremy says, I thought the Jets would beat the Bengals. I did too. Yelson says, Cowboys quarterback only has monster yards when the games finish versus the Packers. He's leading the NFL in yards, so I don't know if I'd quite say that. Robot Guy says, except this year? Don't know what he's saying. Bennett says, I have the Pats 25-21. 25. Interesting score. Kevin Urcan has the Seahawks 31-28. What else? Raiders are going 8-8, which is light years better than most thought. That's true. That's true. Ultra has the Seahawks 28-24. Upset alert. Rams 28-24, says Mr. Singh. Blake says, don't worry, the Seahawks will win. This is our year. Turtle says, Giants 28-23. Eagles are bad. Giants 46-17. Holy crap. I'm not scared to play anyone in Madden. I'll beat all your butts. All right. I am predicting the future as I have in the past. I am Nostradamus. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Just kidding on that note. Again, follow me on Twitter at Mitch Milani, Milani. Make sure that you do subscribe to The Bottom Line View for more NFL. Biggest month of the season in December. I am getting on a plane tomorrow and going back to Vancouver, and then I will commence to make a lot of videos. And make sure that you Gronk spike the like button. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. It's been Mitch of The Bottom Line View. Another week, another good picks video. Thanks for the support, and peace out.